some of us are not judging women with children because they've had sex with men. I think we're judging them because they left receipts. Because a woman can sleep with men for 20 years, 30 years. She could come out at 50 years old and she could say, I'm a lesbian. And if she doesn't tell you, you don't know the difference. You have no idea, right? But a woman walks in the room and she has 3 kids. And suddenly everyone becomes a detective. Suddenly everyone knows, that she's bisexual, or maybe she's straight, or the children are the receipts, right? And is that really fair? All of a sudden we're counting how many kids she has, how many baby daddies she has, how many pregnancies, how long were you with him? It's like we want to know so much about her bedroom activities all of a sudden, not because she slept with men, but because she has the receipts. But why are we investigating her sexuality? Is that our business? My best friend is Nigerian, and she used to say something that would always make me laugh. She'd say, growing up, they used to say that the only woman who ever had sex was the pregnant woman. Think about that for a second. The only person who's ever had sex is the pregnant woman. And what that means is that was the evidence. A man could say, I never had sex. A woman who doesn't have the evidence of the pregnancy could say, I never had sex. But the only one who can't deny it is the woman who has the belly or the baby, right? Everyone else could be doing the exact same thing, sleeping with way more men than she was, but she's the one whose body told on her, right? So tonight I want to ask, are children treated like evidence against a woman's lesbianism? Let's talk about it. So I want to bring TC up. This is our first time having a conversation. So again, thank you for being here, and it's great to meet you.
Likewise, it's great to meet you. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to have the conversation and dig into it. I'm not sure how many of you all were able to see the clips that kind of went around and gave my opinion or my view on the matter. But I'm looking forward to having that conversation and clearing up any confusion that may be lingering as a result of that conversation. So that's pretty much it. That's as it relates to that. As far as me, my name is CC. I'm from South Florida. I am 36 years old. I'm sure you guys can probably guess I don't have any kids.
I didn't know. I'm glad you said it because I didn't know. Good,
I don't have any kids, so I want to be as frank and as upfront about that as possible. So when you guys do hear my opinions, know that that's where they're coming from. It's coming from a woman who does not have kids. So
right, absolutely.
Okay,
thank you for distinguishing that. I saw. I didn't see your clip. I saw someone who stitched your clip.
Okay.
And she was the one who brought it to my attention, right? And I was very interested. I thought it was a very interesting perspective that you have. And I just want to say that I did invite her to come here tonight, and she politely declined, which is fine. But I just want to thank her for bringing it to my attention. And I can't wait to talk to you about it. So I'm gonna get right into it. I'm gonna give you the fairest opportunity to explain yourself, because when you say you date real lesbians, because if you haven't seen the clip, TC says that she only dates real lesbians and not someone. What did you say, TC? I don't want to misquote you.
It happened so long ago. Whatever I said, it was something to the extent of it. I'm probably going to get it wrong, but I say what I mean and I mean what I say. So whatever I'm about to say now may not be word for word, but the intent is still the same. I date real lesbians, and what that means is I date women that have known that they like women all their lives, not the women that decide that after a man has hurt them, that now they want to date women.
Okay. All right. So if you could define, so that's your definition of a real lesbian, someone who's dated women all their lives.
Yep. Even if you haven't dated them, you've known that you've been attracted to women all your life, and it didn't take a negative experience with a man for you to take the jump, or it didn't take, you didn't need a precursor to jump off that step. You didn't need permission from the world to live in your truth. And while I understand that there are some scenarios, religion aside, family aside, comfort aside, societal norms aside, I understand that those things happen, but I also understand that there are lesbians who deal with that same exact thing and those same exact pressures, and they still identify as lesbian. They still hide in the closet, for lack of a better word. So I can't respect them and also respect the person that hides in the closet for the same exact reason.
Okay. So let me ask you. Okay, do you think that someone with a child does that mean that she's not, or children? Because you specifically said that in the video.
Yeah.
Does that mean that they're not real lesbians?
I can't say that.
Okay.
Because there's so many ways that a woman can have a kid, right? And then there's so many things that could make it so a woman is left with a child, right? So it's not as black and white as I'd like it to be. So can you be a lesbian with a child? 100%. You can be a lesbian with 2 children. But where I'm going to draw the line is you being a lesbian with 3 or more children, with a husband that you were happily married to, and then at late in life you decide, you know what, I think I've had it with men. I'm going to go try and see what a woman looks like. That's where things get a little wishy-washy for me. So it's not just, oh, you have children, you're not a lesbian. I can't. Who am I to say that? I can't say that. But what I can say is that the sum of all things equals you might not be telling the whole truth.
Okay. And I invite you all to ask questions of TC because I have a lot of questions myself. So my first question is, who hurt you? Who hurt you? No. I'm curious. I'm curious though. Have you had an experience with a specific type of woman who maybe you were dating her, seeing her, she was still interested in men? Did you have some type of like negative experience with that? I'm curious.
Honestly, I would say yeah, but I was so young that I don't count it. And I'm saying yeah because I did have an experience with a woman that ended up pregnant by a man. Not while we were together, but towards the end of the relationship or towards us kind of phasing it out. But again, we were young. Like this was early on in college, so I can't say that that's something that shaped my identity or that shaped my views on that. I didn't become this rigid in my views until later on in life. Me at that age, I was a lot more understanding, a lot more free, just because I wasn't necessarily looking for anything too serious. So what you do or who you do it with was truly none of my business. And because this was college, I understand that half of the women, if not majority of women here, are bisexual. So who am I to say, you can't do that?
Well, the group thing is asking, what specifically brought you to that perspective? Because I want to know, like, because you, again, going back to what you said about the multiple fathers and, multiple kids, is your issue the children or what you believe that the children reveal about her? Like that she is still interested in men or she's not?
Well, it's a lot of things. So for me, I feel like 1 or 2 kids, okay, I think that's a bit normal. And I would say this the same thing to a man, right? 3 or more kids, one of my favorite things to say is you need to give them back their family. 3 or more kids and you guys decide to get divorced, you need to go back home. Why? You should not be out in the streets. Y'all got 3 kids together. Go home. You shouldn't be here. Gay, straight, bi, in between. You guys have 3 kids together. Y'all, whatever y'all did it 3 times and you kept all 3. You wanted to be there. You enjoyed it there. So that's my first take on that. My second take on that is no woman who is wanting to be with another woman is going to sit there and allow a man to get her pregnant 3 times. It's just not going to happen. I don't believe that. At some point, you're going to push the button and say, you know what, no more kids are coming out of here. But you guys aren't doing that. Or it's going to come down to infidelity. You're going to cheat. You're gonna play the game of, let's invite a woman into the bedroom. But you're not going to tell me that you've lived a good majority of your adult life as a grown woman, as a straight woman. And then 3 kids in, 2 years out of your divorced marriage, now you're looking at masculine women like, oh, I've been gay my whole life. You're lying. You may have been curious. You may have been willing. You may have been attracted to women on some fetish type stuff, but you ain't gay. And I think a lot of it's honestly fetishism.
Someone said in the comments, because I've been reading all the comments ever since I announced that you would be on the show, and I read every single comment, y'all. One commenter said there's a big difference between 1 pregnancy and a whole sports team of children from multiple men. Okay, so what's the cutoff? What's the number for you? Is she safe where she have 1 child? Is she safe with 2 children? Is it 3?
You guys aren't gonna like this, and I'm telling you that now. No woman with children is safe with me. You aren't on my radar.
None.
There's not a single woman with a child that I would date. Not one.
Okay. So do the number of fathers matter?
God, yeah, I couldn't imagine. Yes. Oh no. And I think, but that teeters less. I'm a bit conservative. So I'm a wee bit conservative. So when we start to talk about women with multiple fathers, like women who have children with multiple fathers, that goes into a totally different realm of integrity for me. So not only am I not attracted to you, but I have my own personal thoughts about who you are as a woman. I can't even.
TC, you speak very strongly. Okay. All right. You know what I was surprised by actually? I was surprised at the number of people who agreed with you. I honestly didn't expect that. And I appreciate everyone's perspective. I just didn't expect so many people to agree because I think it's one thing to say, I don't want to date someone with kids. That's many reasons for that. I get it. That's a preference. But when you equate the amount of children, the number of baby fathers, and say that this woman cannot be a lesbian, I think we might have a little bit of an issue there. I'm not quite sure. Okay, so let me ask you another question. What if the woman that you're dating, right? She doesn't have kids.
Yep.
She doesn't have kids, but she's had a history with men. Is that okay? She's all through college, she slept with men. She all through her adult years, she slept with men. You guys met, and she tells you this, but she's a lesbian now. How do you feel about it?
How does she know she's a lesbian?
How does she know? How do you know? Did she? What did she ask you? She might say the same way that you know, but I just had to explore a little bit, or she might have her reasons. But okay, so I'm asking. I don't want to get too far in your business, but the women that you've dated, are you saying that they've never had sex with men?
No, but I'll be straight with you. The women that I'll be straight with you. The women that I've taken seriously have been lesbians all their life. The women that I have played around with, I don't care what you do because I don't intend to keep you. So
the one that you bring home to mom.
Oh, the one I bring home to mom is grade A. That is the woman I keep. That is the woman who gets saved in my phone. She gets a name. She gets taken wherever she wants to go. But the other ones I treat them like the experiment they're treating me like.
Okay. All right. There are a lot of people who agree in the comments. I'm going to bring some of you up. I want to hear your perspectives. Again, if you're a parent and you're just joining us, I want to know, have your children ever made you feel, as having children, has that ever made you feel like you had to prove your sexuality? Because I'm really curious about that. I don't have kids personally myself. I'm someone who I've never had a relationship with a man. So, someone might deem me a real lesbian because I've never, but I don't know. I feel like it's so much more complicated than that and complex than that. For a conservative woman, that's an interesting take to be an experiment. I'm not sure what you mean by it. Ooh, that's a great question. Which one? Some of us couldn't come out younger. Some of us were trapped in abusive spaces. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about that.
We can make room for that.
Because what about the people who you're different, but you so I equate this to, and I don't know if this is a good example, right? Growing up in certain spaces, you may have never seen a lawyer. You may never seen someone who looks like you be a doctor. You may have never seen someone who looks like you be a therapist. So you don't even know that that's a possibility, and then we talk about all the religious persecution, all of that. Some people just think that, that's just, I see everybody else doing it.
Yeah.
I feel different within myself, but I see everybody else doing it. So, let me fall in line, Speak to that. What do you think about that?
So here's the thing. While my views can be rigid and while they can seem a bit black or white, I can't seem intolerant, and I'm 100% aware of that. I do make room for things that are logical. And I do understand that everybody has a different life story, experiences change, right? So whether we're talking about abuse, whether we're talking about exposure, whether we're talking about just religious freedom, societal norms of being shunned from your family, there are different factors that are going to contribute to the choices you make, right? And I understand that my position and my take on the entire matter comes from a place of privilege. I'm privileged to have been able to live the life that I've been able to live and to be able to have these thoughts. I 100% get that my experience has made it so I'm able to say these things confidently, right? And I also understand everybody hasn't had that. So for some people, they had to wait. Where it becomes an issue for me is where you try to justify waiting after those things have disappeared. Okay. So once you're grown, once you're out of your parents' house, once you've left the religion, once you've left the marriage, once you've decided in your brain that this is what I want to do, it's hard for me to understand, again, as a woman, that it took you to be 44 years old before you came in. Now, the flip side of that is I have to go back to experiences and I have to go back to our own individual comfort and our own individual confidence. Not every woman has the full confidence to step into who she believes she is internally and be that person externally. And that's okay. There is a woman out there for you. However, you're not that person. I like a confident woman. I like a confident woman that knows who she is and is okay with showing up as her authentic self, because that's how I show up.
Okay. So someone asked in the comments how old you are.
36.
36? Okay. So you grown. It's not for anyone to understand. It is what it is. That screams entitlement. Okay. I want to read a couple more of the comments. Someone said she knew at 7, but she has 3 adult sons. She didn't start living openly until she was 40 years old. Another woman talked about being threatened as a child, if she would ever, turn out to be gay. Another talked about religious conditioning and believing God wouldn't love her. There are so many stories. I mean, there was some real traumatic stories in the comments. that I had to read. When survival shapes your heterosexual history, should that history be used as evidence against you? And I know for you, what you're saying is you feel like that woman should have had some kind of more strength or courage to come out before she was 45, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I can't relate personally because I knew it as four. Well, I can relate to some of it. I knew it four, but even though I was living my life and my truth, I didn't come out to my family.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I know that there are some women who not only did they not come out to their family, they had to bring a man around to prove that, hey, I'm straight. And someone just asked to come up. I want to hear everyone else's opinions in the comment in the chat. What's up, Utopia? Welcome in if you're just joining us. We're talking about, is she really a lesbian? She got all the kids. Is she really? Once you're grown and on your own, if you're honest with who are you living your life for? Yeah, absolutely, Ruth. And come on up.
Ruth answered, whew.
Wow. We could talk about this from so many different angles. Ruth, I invited you up. Come on up.
Oh shoot! I'm trying to get a shirt on, y'all. I gotta be on camera. Right?
Well, you're not on camera, so yeah, you're good. You're good.
H2O, Aquafina.
Give me 1 second.
At 45, I learned to let people be with their type. Yeah. I think my family's from the islands. Religion and culture are huge. Yep, same. I'm Bahamian, so I get it. Good evening. What's up, Rainbow Teddy? Welcome in. Cool thing. I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. So whenever you're ready.
My question is, and I appreciate you bringing me up, and I appreciate you, TC, for sharing your thought process and your reasoning behind the way in which you think and the perspective that you have.
I can't hear you that well. I don't know if it's just me.
I'm a soft talker. Give me 1 second.
Okay, yeah. Take your time. What's up to me? We're gonna talk. What you got to say? Welcome in.
Hi, how are you guys doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm really good. I respect your point of view and your opinion, but I also respectfully disagree. And I say that with so much grace. I do not have kids, but I do know women who are gay or who have come out, who have kids, but they knew they were bisexual. They met their boyfriend in high school, and then they were with them, but they were scared to explore their sexuality because of their background of us being Black women. So for her, it was more of a repression. There's a lot of Black women I know, at least, who have kids by men, but it's all circumstantial. I feel like every situation is just different, and I don't want to take away or invalidate other people's experiences because some people don't always know. I knew I liked both men and women when I was about 8 years old, and I came out when I was 21 years old. So I feel like my experience is different because I'm very emotionally intelligent and just in tune with my emotions as a whole. So it's nothing I could have really hid from myself. But a lot of other people will live in denial for such a long time. And a lot of people don't have that safe space to come out, or they've grown up in religion. And I feel like there's so many reasons, whether you have multiple kids or not. And let me know if I'm getting off topic as well. But when you have multiple kids, I don't think that takes away from your sexuality. I feel like sexuality is on a spectrum. And I feel like some people lean more towards one side, and then some other people lean towards the other side. But at the same time, people are constantly discovering who they are. And I feel like if you're curious about being with women and want to date a woman, you should have that experience. But I also see the side of the woman who doesn't have kids and who has been out since they were younger. I feel like for them, it's like, no, I need you to be sure. And I need to know, and I have to have proof that you want to be with me for the rest of your life, that you actually be with me, and that you're not doubling back to an ex that you have 2 or 3 kids with. So I understand that perspective as well. So that's just my point of view on it.
But I think we're talking about 2 different things when we talk about being a lesbian versus being bisexual. We're talking about how if she has kids, she's automatically deemed bisexual. Like she couldn't have gone through all of these kids. I don't agree with that. I think that, there are many reasons that, children, if you're having sex with a man, children are a possibility. And there are many lesbians out here who have had sex with men for years and years and years, but they just have not had children. So that it doesn't mean that you're bisexual just because you have kids or just because you've had experiences with men,
My exes are
I don't get a fair shot either.
Slept with more men than I have. but they will never date or be with a man. For me, I've slept with men, but I don't want to ever be with a man. I don't want to marry a man. I want to marry a woman. I know I love women. So once people start labeling certain things, we're kind of like, I think we're nitpicking at certain things, if that makes sense. But I do want to let Groove speak because I know she was up first. But either way, I hope you guys got my perspective.
We did. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
I love that perspective. So y'all can hear me, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think the issue, while I appreciate you sharing your thought process and your perspective, I think the issue that I keep having is that you equate having children with having sex. Because I went through, with my first child, artificial insemination. It was called intrauterine insemination, or IUI. I did not have sex to have my 2 children. And I would gladly have 10 of them if I could. But my body has a blood issue where I don't make big babies, so they're usually pretty small at birth. My second child was born through IVF. I have not had sex to have my children. So why would I be labeled as a lesbian, bisexual, because I have children, or simply because I have children?
Well, you wouldn't. And I want to reiterate a point that I made earlier, where I excluded you all, and I said that any woman who, I do understand that there are special cases where women have children through other ways. You would be one of those women that had children through a different way. However, that would be a conversation that we would need to have. But seeing you immediately, and I'm not, this isn't me saying that I would date you, or that you and I would date or anything like that. But if I were to see a woman outside, let's just cut all masks out and facades out. That is new technology, right? So traditionally, when you see a woman with kids, your brain doesn't just immediately go, hey, she must have went through a surgery to have those children. There must have not been sex involved, because typically the way to bring children into the world is via sex. So if I were to see you out at an event and you said lesbian and I saw 2 kids, I would go, something about that doesn't seem right. And it would be up to me to either decide to probe and have a conversation with you to figure out, hey, what's happening with the kids, or I could just immediately go with what society tells me, go with societal norms, go with just common information and say she probably had sex to have those kids, just because that's the person that's going to come to our mind, because that's how we know that children are had. I am from the South. And Naughty J, you had a question. I missed it. I wish I remembered it because I wanted to remember it. I think you asked how my family felt about it. It was never a conversation I had with my family. They just knew. I just lived my life. And again, it kind of goes back to the privilege that I have. I have a pretty tight-knit family, and we're also very firm with each other. It's either you're going to accept me how I am or you're not. And I have a very loving family, but we all live our lives the way we want to live our lives. We show up how we want to show up. And the only requirement for my family is that you live with the integrity and morale that I gave you. So as long as you aren't out here misrepresenting our name or misrepresenting what you were taught, you're fine. But who you sleep with behind closed doors is none of my business. How are you representing yourself? If you're going to be this way, you need to show up a certain way. That's how I was raised. So it was never I had to come to my family and have this whole, round table discussion about who I'm sleeping with.
Right. And like you said, that's privilege. That's privilege. I know that I grew up differently, and a lot of other people did as well. You know what I mean? I wanna get your perspective leveled up. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
So yeah, just touching based on what TC said, she did say she did exclude everybody out, which I have twins by IUI as well. And I've been in the dating world, and it's like every time I do mention I have kids, I'm automatically dumbed that I'm bisexual. So I'm like, I don't need to prove anybody that I have my kids through a clinic, right? You have to have that confidence within yourself that people believe you. But it's a scary world we live in now, because automatically masculine presenting women automatically assume that we're not gay or we're not a lesbian. So it's kind of hard for me to date at this point of my life, because that's all I've been getting. Oh no, you have kids, I don't date women with kids. It's hard for us out here because of the misrepresentation of bisexual women. I'm gonna say that because it has a lot to do with that too. But yeah, it's a rocky road in society right now.
And she did distinguish, between women who've had children other ways. But I just want to make sure that we're not conflating being a bisexual with a lesbian who just has children. I don't think that they are the same. Groove Thing. Sorry, not Groove Thing. Utopia. Welcome up.
Hi.
Hi, welcome in.
Let me turn this on. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, see, before you speak, I saw you all in the comments. I feel like you agree with TC, and so I want to hear your perspective. Let's go. First of all, do you
First,
have kids?
no, I don't. Um, First, I'll start with I'm 44, and I did grow up with an island family. So we're talking religious, we're talking all kinds of things. And when they came to America, okay, there's a lot of that language of negative verbal language of the LGBT community.
Mm-hmm.
Noted. Now, what the job? Well, honestly, the job of being a parent, or in the sense of this is my opinion. All this is my opinion, my beliefs. I will not speak about, oh, I know somebody or I heard somebody say to me. I'm going to speak on me.
Please
So
do.
from that space, my family really were not that great with the LGBT community when they came to America, because America celebrates it very openly and raw to where it'll leave a bad taste in your mouth. And not all, because okay, there are different okay, palm color, melanated, different communities. Good. It didn't stop me. It didn't stop me from knowing who I was and what I wanted. And I knew I was into other girls because I felt it. Like it's like this tingly feeling of like, why am I hot and bothered or sweating around a certain girl or something? It's a feeling that you would know from jump whenever that feeling hits you. Yes, my family might have wanted me to marry one day and always trying to set me up with some Guyanese, Indian, coolie by somebody. And for me, I'm like, no, I'm good. And even in high school, middle school, going into college, when they're saying, oh, they like me, they want to date me, the first thing I would say, no, I'm not ready yet, knowing damn well I'll take your girl. But the because it's like I understand that at a younger age we have to protect ourselves, and it's our parents and adults' job to protect us until we get old enough to then either walk away and live our own independent life from our parents' home, or if we're still there, respect their wishes in some type of form or way. For me, when I left, I let them know I'm lesbian, I'm into girls, and this is my girlfriend. And they were like, who's this? Man, it's just a phase. You know what? Don't you ever come back to this house with a girl that looked like no boy or nothing. I think you'd look better if you was with a feminine girl that looked like you. I would accept that. But this, me know about that. I said, okay. Well, I'm not in your house. I'm outside your house, so I'm going to live for me. So for me, right off top, and yes, I understand the threats and all this, and the job of a parent is to protect. But for me, once you leave the home, once you decide I'm going to be an adult without my parents, you have the choice now to choose, to rewire, to readjust yourself and try to find you for you. Mm-hmm. We could carry the things our parents give us. Yes, some things are good that will help us along the way to be independent, an adult. But once you leave the home, the choice is yours. That's one thing, whoever you believe in gave you choice to choose how you want to become and be in this world. And it was our parents' choice, our parents' duty to protect us along the way in finding ourselves. Yes, a lot of people didn't get that privilege. I didn't get that privilege, to be honest. I really didn't. But yeah, I at no point in time, only time I look at men, I'm like, he would I'd make good babies with him. But it really wouldn't go further than that. I'd be like, because scientifically right now, we need sperm to go with, egg to make children. It's very understandable. For me, what kind of scratched a little bit of the surface of me is the word bisexual. Do you not? Sometimes I feel we forget the letters in LGBT, and then Q came after plus, but it was LGBT. L is for B, gay, G is for, and B is for bi. They went through a lot to, in a sense, build that community for that, in a sense, title or that safe space just for the bisexual women. So how is it that they can come now into the lesbian, in a sense, community and recreate what lesbian looks like or what it feels like or what the daily life of it is? That's what kind of like ticks me a little bit, because bisexual, you still have most of the time, if you're not, checking yourself and working with yourself, you still are bringing that male masculinity and different concepts with dating a woman. And you can do that when you're bisexual, in a sense, you're dating both sides. But once you start to step into, I'm dating a lesbian, I'm bi, just know you have to start rewiring your whole brain, your whole concept of it, because you're dealing with a woman, period. You're not going to find, that male-centered moments and different attitudes and attributes of like, I'm going to ignore her. You got to have that communication there. You got to, just be very transparent, be very straight up and forward with subjects and things. Like it is so much more, but I think that's the part that really itched me a little bit when why? How come you can't why be afraid of the word bisexual when you have a whole community that fought for LGBT, for you to be represented and they're a part of the community? I have no problem with bisexual women. For me, I just
You just don't want to date them. Yeah,
I'm okay.
bisexual
I'm
is
okay
not
with
a dirty word. It's
it's
not a
not a
dirty
dirty
word. There,
word.
there are bisexual women out there. I've never knowingly dated one. That's not my preference to date one. But I respect bisexual women. But we're talking about lesbian women, right? And I will say this: I'm going to complicate my own argument. I don't think that every woman who dates another woman is a lesbian. I know that there are many women out there who are dating other women for different reasons, right? But we're talking about women who are truly lesbians, and I just don't think that having children makes you automatically not a lesbian, right? What is someone who is bisexual or not a lesbian? If you continue to date men, pursue men, sleep with men, men are part of your romantic or your sexual life, your desires, I don't think that you're a lesbian. Now, if you tell me, if I meet you, I don't care if you have 10 kids. If I meet you at 52 and you have 10 kids, if you tell me you're a lesbian, I expect that you are a lesbian. You're not sleeping with men. You're not trying to. I don't fear that you're going to dip out on me just because you came out later in life.
I struggle with that.
I understand.
And I struggle with that, and I have to say that it's going to go back to the number for me, because let's just talk math, and this isn't my strong suit, so I'm going to play with the numbers a bit. But you're 50 years old, you have 10 kids, and you've just decided that now you're a lesbian. So now we're wearing the word lesbian like it's a mask.
But you're saying just decided. What if they decided when they were 10, but they just didn't come out for whatever reason? They just could not bring themselves to come out for all the reasons we talked about in the beginning.
It took you 40 plus years to decide that. For me, that's a hard pill to swallow. And I feel like when we start treating lesbianism like it's something you can just pick up whenever you decide that you're comfortable with it, it's unfair to the women that have lived with that through their entire lives. So while my family accepted it, I'm still a masculine woman. So I still have to go out and be this masculine woman when you get to decide, hey, well, I'm a little scared now. Yeah. For me, who I show up as myself every day, I don't care how men look at me. I don't care how women look at me. I don't care how the old church ladies look at me when I go to church or when I say or do whatever I want to do. I show up as I am. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to respect a woman who does not show up how she is. So now I'm living with somebody who's tiptoed around the sexuality that they want me to welcome them in. You want me to welcome you into this and immerse you into this lifestyle 100% when you came into it scared. You came into it cautious. It's hard for me to respect that. It's hard for me to give you that.
Right.
May I jump in?
That's Gritty.
Yes, it's Gritty. Hi, TC. Hello, Erin. Thank you for having this platform.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here.
Yes. Now, I've known TC from this platform here for about a little over a year now, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And while she has definitely some controversial comments and different things like that, I respect her. I do. I appreciate someone who can stand 10 toes down with their own beliefs and things of that nature. With that being said, I respectfully also disagree. I am a woman who is 45 years old. This is my birthday. July is my birthday.
Same, and I'm gonna be 45 this month as well.
Yes. So I'll be 46 years old. I do have three sons. I've known since I was 9 years old. However, at 13, I knew I wanted three sons 2 years apart. Manifested my life. I knew what I wanted. I knew that I didn't want to have multiple baby daddies or anything like that. So yeah, I had different views on certain things and I all of these ideas in mind. And some of the numbers that have been floating around is like, oh, you decided that you're gonna be with this guy and have these kids and be married. First, I was never married to him, to the father of my children. I was never married to him. But you're gonna be with this guy, you're going to do all of the things, and then at 40 something, you're gonna decide, okay, you're gonna live your life. Well, that's not my story. Although I am 40 something, that's not my story. I knew I wanted to have three children 2 years apart. Heard some of the other ladies speak on how they had basically like in vitro or the whatever other name is for it, but insemination nonetheless, right? Well, as you can tell, if I'm born, I'm going to be 46 this month. I was born in 1980. So who got the money for that in the 90s? Me? No, didn't have that. My first son was 99. I was 19, well, going on 19. And I had them back to back. So 2 years apart, like I said, right? That was my manifestation. What I wanted. Did I wish to be with a man? No. Did I need something from that man in order to fulfill my dream? Yes. Was I with him thereafter? Initially, I tried, but I knew in my heart that I would never be his completely. because I always had a girlfriend. I always had someone that I needed for me, right? So then, of course, leaving that whole situation aside, I always knew who I was. So it wasn't a case of, deciding or making a decision to do X, Y, and Z, as far as coming out is concerned or anything like that. That wasn't my thing. I didn't have a whole coming out speech and okay, I have to talk to you. No, mommy, daddy, this is Keisha, Keisha, mommy, daddy. Yo, my mother, like, you hungry? You want to plate of food? That's it.
Yeah.
That's the whole coming out, right? So there are certain ways that I live my life that I can say that I'm privileged, but I can also say that I have been authentic to me. And my authenticity isn't predicated on someone else's, of course, naturally, right? Because it's what I wanted for my life. And I knew I wanted to be a mother. I knew I wanted 3 children, specifically 3 sons, right? Because I come from a family full of women. But when I hear you say, TC, it's like, that's questionable. Now I get there are times when I can look at somebody and say, oh, wow. Now me, to give a little bit of my what's a good word for it? Whatever, to give my own preferences. That's a good word right there, preferences, right? I typically don't date women with children, not because I'm questioning their sexuality and to say, okay, are they going to dip back off or do something like that? It's selfish reasons. Because if my kids need shoes and your kids need shoes and we only got money for one pair of shoes, who's getting the shoes? See, it's simple. It's
Yeah,
just silly, right?
right.
It's silly.
So,
But
like I said earlier, there are a lot of reasons for not wanting to date someone who has children. I get it,
right,
you know.
right. So
Yeah,
you,
but
yeah.
that's a
So you
different
can have your
conversation than
preferences.
whether or not
No, no,
she's
no,
a
no, no.
lesbian.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So for me, I was just going to speak on that. But it's like to say whether or not if I am a lesbian or not, because I have children, excuse me, specifically 3 children or more, because, I know that the number for TC was 2 and like understanding like, okay, whatever. But for me to have 3 children or more, and then to say, okay, well, you're now deciding to be a lesbian. No, I've always been a lesbian. I've always loved women. But then another thing that you said just a moment ago, when you were speaking on basically you've had to endure in a way this fight of being who you are authentically and walking in that with eyes on you, with scrutiny, with all of the different things, and now someone else can basically come in and live a more cheeky life because they didn't come out earlier on or they didn't do this, that, and the other. We could have the same argument as someone being Black now and standing as a Black woman and being strong and being assertive and being all the things, right? But the other people back in the day didn't have that opportunity to be as bold as we are. So
Yeah,
we
they
also
did.
have to think about, excuse me.
Yeah, they did. And that's a different conversation for a different day. But yes, they did.
No, no, no. Some did it. Some did, right? Because we do have those pioneers and those matriarchs that did those things. However, those were the ones who were courageous enough to do so, right?
Courage. That's
But
an
then,
encouraging choice.
but but no, I get what you're saying, but we also have to think about where people are in their walks.
That is a personal problem, Gritty. And that's why I'm saying personal problems and preferences. Those are the 3 words the 3 P's that I want to stick with throughout this conversation.
Mhm.
And hey, thank you again for coming up, Gritty. I appreciate you. Me and you, we've had this conversation several times. So, my take on that is I 100% agree. But now it makes me question what is a lesbian? Because if anybody can be a lesbian with kids, without kids, I can decide I like boys yesterday. Then say that way we say, you know what? Actually, I never want to talk to John again. I only like women. Now am I a
Okay,
lesbian?
okay. Gina, give me your perspective here.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, welcome in, welcome
Hi,
up.
Gina.
I've been waiting on this
Do you want to
day.
answer TC's question of what is a lesbian?
Me, what is lesbian? Again, okay. Now I will say my opinion comes from somebody being 38, no kids by choice. My coming out story was not cute. A family member came out for me. But in the end, I picked my own happiness. So my conversation with my mother was, "Are you gay? Yeah. Why? Listen, do you want me to date women and be happy, or do you want me to be suicidal and continue to date men? Because it's not. I'm doing it for y'all. I'm not doing it for me." The biggest issue I feel like, what is a lesbian? I feel like everybody's okay, because I don't want to preference it and be like there's one generalized definition because there's not. Everybody's story is different. But I will say I feel like because the bisexual label gets so much flack that a lot of people want to jump straight into the lesbian pool because that's where the more welcoming is. So it may not necessarily be like, oh, if you have kids, you can't be a lesbian. I think the issue is like the conversation that even brought this live to come to pass. You're a grown woman, you had kids, you were married, and then you got divorced and you decided, okay, I'm going to come over to this side. What is wrong with saying, I am a bisexual because I was in this marriage and I love this man and I had these children with him, and now, for whatever reason, that went south, that's our own business.
But what if she's
I
not
wanted to be with women.
bisexual? What if she is actually a lesbian?
So,
Did,
my, okay, I understand that. But if you, and I understand there's different, everybody has a different scenario, life, religion, how you were raised, where you came from, all of those things. If you get to a certain age and you're not living for your own happiness, but the happiness of everybody else, then you chose not to sit and stand 10 toes down in your lesbianism. Like, I understand you can be a lesbian and you can come out later on in life. But if you are a lesbian and you came out later on in life and you had children, that means you're sexually attracted to men, which leads you to be a bisexual.
I don't agree with that, but okay. I thank you for that perspective. Sassy, I want to get to you, and then I want to talk to a couple of people who came up. Sassy, what's your perspective on this? I want to make sure I'm playing the in a couple
Hey y'all, good evening.
What's up, Sassy?
words.
Okay, I'm gonna just say this. This is a pet peeve of mine. Real bad, real bad. I agree totally with TC. How do you go, like, I was just in a live and a girl said her baby daddy trapped her. She had a 13-year-old and then turned around and had an 11-year-old and now she's a lesbian. No, baby, you're not. No, you're not. And I feel like those women, I don't care what nobody, this is my opinion. My mom was a pastor, okay? So you can't miss me without that extra. My mom was a pastor. I dated a boy. I stopped dating a boy when I was 18 because I was trying for my mom. After that, I did not care. You don't get to determine. And what upsets me is women with 5 and 6, 7, 8 kids take away to me the lesbian community, because then we're left like, okay, where's all our women at? And they over here being steadies. When there's women like me who don't got no kids. I did adopt my great niece, so I do have a child now, but I didn't biologically. No. Now they over here taking care of everybody's kids instead of us being able to live in our truth and be with a woman. I feel like all the women with 5 and 6, 7, 8 kids, and all of a sudden you're gay, is weird to me.
Okay.
It's weird. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. And again, my mom is a pastor. She does not accept my sexuality, but she definitely respects it. She will not come in my home if I got a girlfriend in my home. All of those things, but I don't care. It's my life. You lived yours. Now I'm living mine. I am, out of 8 kids, the only gay one. I don't care. And again, my mom married a pastor. I'm from the South. They don't like that. It was hard. Don't get it twisted. My coming out, and she still say little slick things like, go over there with them things or them things, or yeah. I don't care. I'm going right on over to my community. I sure am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Sassy. Nalo, I wanna say before, thank you for being here. You know what's interesting? I used to think femme women had all the privilege, because I mean, y'all could walk into a room and no one knows, you know, what you're gay or not. You know, I walk into a room and people automatically know. Now I'm thinking that that's a privilege as well, that people just automatically believe me when I say that I love women. You know what I mean? And when people don't question my sexuality. You know, it wasn't until this conversation that kind of dawned on me.
Yeah. But I think that's because of the way we present. What's going on?
What's up, y'all? What's up? First, thank you for this conversation. Like, I'm impressed by how people's minds are working around sexuality and attraction, things like that. I think something that's I used to think this way. I want to just like preface that because I run a strict program. I'm like, protect lesbian space, protect lesbian culture. Don't come over here with all that. And there were some nuances that really shifted my heart space, and those nuances were specific to the privilege of being able to say that we had the ability to act upon our sexual attractions to women. I'm also a preacher's child. And I know the Black Pentecostal church where you couldn't wear pants for the first time in many years. Okay. They, you know what I'm saying? That shapes you a certain way. And now I was a person who was just insurmountably attracted to girls. So they were trying to figure out why my tomboy phase was not changing. You know, it was like, you still climbing trees and, you know, doing all this stuff that's supposed to pass, right? Because tomboy is like that liminal space that's acceptable for girls, but then it's not when you get to a certain age. And so when I thought about these journeys, I'm like, when we talk about privilege too, like, I think, Aaron, to your point, I feel like where we are visibly queer offers us the kind of like access to being like perceived as nuanced because we are not like digestible to male attraction in the same way. It's more like competitive, like they trying to get us back on the side of reproduction or whatever. But I think when I softened into the nuances of how oppression works and how those things are constantly and pervasively capturing women and girls, specifically a particular brand of oppression, girls and women. Like I think about that and I'm like, that is a specific formula that shows up to teach women and girls not to, one, love ourselves, much less loving each other. We are to be consumed wholly by male attraction. We are to be consumed by the story that patriarchy says our bodies are for, that our beauty is for, all of that. If we are not aligned with that, we are misaligned with our purpose on earth, right? To serve men, to sleep with men, all that. So when I think from that lens, I'm like, how many women and girls survived, right? The patriarchal and heteronormative modalities for attraction and sexuality. I'm like, that wasn't my story because I rebelled. You know, I couldn't lay down with no man, and I couldn't. But also, that's not the story that so many women have. So like, I stopped trying to dictate the idea that I could police people's lesbian stories and coming out stories, and I really had a softened heart to these children being born to a woman who wasn't able to be fully herself, wasn't able to be in the sexuality that she is because she had to perform or be exiled from her family or be homeless or be whatever else there was that were consequences for not doing it. And I say that to say, and I'm gonna close with this, like I say that to say that also like that's how the church works. Like the church will be, until you can think for yourself, until you can grasp a hold of like you as a whole person, right? Like you can't, hi Bree, good to see you. You can't like actualize that you can give yourself permission to be queer, to love other women, right? To touch a woman's body, and God ain't coming to put you in a lake of fire. That is a particular condition of freedom that is not afforded to all women. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly that. I couldn't have said it any better. You know, someone who also, you know, grew up in an environment where they will tell you, listen, I don't care what else you do, but just don't be gay. I don't care what else you do, you know? And that leaves such an impression on everybody, on people. Not enough women find that freedom early enough. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're so oppressed as women, as Black people. You know, I just don't want to, like you said, police anyone's like sexuality and identity. Exodus, I'm sorry, I didn't give you an opportunity to speak. What would you like to say?
So I'm 30 and I don't have any kids, just so you context with my opinion. I do agree with TC that once you hit 3 children, you cannot claim lesbian. However, I'm happy that we're having this conversation. I'm happy that we're open about this dialogue, because something that I have noticed in our community is that when we judge everybody, we end up making it where people don't share their truth. And then you don't really know who people are or what they believe because you're not giving them that opportunity to share. And to all the mask presenting women, I do have femme privilege. You know, I had to be made aware of this. And so I don't have to carry my gaze, so to speak, with me into every space. So definitely hear y'all in that. I grew up very religious, and I just didn't have the terminology or permission to be gay. And so I remember, you know, looking at women as young as when I was 5 years old, or I remember the studs in high school. And I remember, you know, being attracted to women. I just didn't know I was allowed to go after them. So I came out in college. So I have grace and understanding for those who come out late as well. So that's what I have to share.
Thank you for that. You know, that's a great point. I think we judge the evidence of someone's survival as evidence against their sexuality, right? A child cannot tell you whether a woman was in love with that man. A child cannot tell you whether or not she was attracted to that man. A child can't tell you whether she was afraid, whether she was surviving, whether she was religious. Whether, you know, absolutely, like it's not evidence of her sexuality. And I know too many women who have struggled with this, like struggle to date because they have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 kids, you know what I mean? But they're lesbians. But studs can be bisexual too.
Can I add a real quick comment? Something that I want to make sure that people understand. I run a strict lesbian program. Strict, okay? So this is not about...
I want a shirt with that. I want a strict lesbian program.
Okay? I do not play. Like, you know, when when we get to, having people who, I'm not going to do that on this platform. Okay. So like I think for me, when I think about lesbians, I'm thinking about women who love women. And when I also want to think of lesbian as this understanding of transient attraction. Like so many identities pass through lesbian umbrellas, right? As they find themselves and as they figure out or actualize their sexuality. So something that's like important to me is like, I do want a woman who is enthusiastically in love with women. I think what I was trying to say is that the trajectory of getting there may be nuanced, but knowing you love women is it's very much so not like a linear process to me. But like I can spot them a mile away, and I think everyone's feedback is so valid because there are so many people who, under the guise of wanting belonging or to feel attraction, literally will come over here to dip their chip and then get back in the Tostitos bag.
Yep.
So there's a lot of harm that's been caused by women who fetishize lesbian space that way. And I understand why TC saying what they saying, because we can't play around. Y'all playing with our hearts and all these other things when you could just be bisexual, honey. Okay. Just be who you are, but don't come over here and then turn around and we got to be dealing with Dante now. Who done got that's all
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to add that in there.
For sure. I want to be fair. Like, not every woman who dates women is necessarily a lesbian. Bisexual women exist. Pansexual women exist. Women who are hurt by men and they come over and dip their chip. Like, I feel like all of us have been hurt by one of them at some point. You know what I mean? But I think it's okay to say that we have our preferences, but let's just be careful about like the judgment, against someone who is a lesbian, but they've had to, like you said, they've gone through a journey that we haven't gone on personally, maybe. Indira, did I say that right?
You did. Greetings.
Greetings,
I should
welcome up.
really. I guess because I'm I'm a dominant femme, right? And I am a mom. I have two sons. I got married in my early 20s. I too come from, I guess you can say, a very traditional home. I'm Nigerian American, and I grew up in a Muslim household. So culture and standard, being the youngest of 6 boys, is a no-brainer, right? So, and growing up in the Northeast, because I grew up in New York, the culture is different. Going to college in the South, life-changing. Love the HBCU vibe, but the culture and the rhetoric of what's deemed prim and proper for a lady, having grandparents born in the 30s, it's different, right? And it's, sometimes it's not fair. And I say that because I have, my fraternal side of my family were Muslims. The maternal side of my family were Christians. And being now 40 plus, I'll be 41 next month. And, my friend groups are my age and other middle-aged women that have already, had traditional lifestyles, right? And what's then, especially in the 90s, it's unconventional to be a lesbian and to say it out loud. That's not been my experience.
I can honestly say that even though the norms and my upbringing may have influenced part of my presentation to the world, my sexuality has always belonged to myself, right? Coming up from in humbling beginnings, I'm the baby of 6 boys, so I've always been secure in who I am, not only just my sexuality, but who I am as a person. But I also have friends, and I know plenty of women that are 40 plus that have been living, for a lack of better verbiage, just existing, not even living, right? Based off the norms of what's considered to be a traditional woman or to be classy or to be a lady. There are so many layers to that. And I only can speak from my own experience, but I will say the young woman, Exes, stated that, a woman that may have 3 children should not be allowed to say that she's a lesbian. I don't think that's fair, because sometimes people live in fear. And, and me being 40, like I have friends that are masculine presenting, dominant femmes, etc., that for a very long time were afraid because they thought, not only what the world would say, but what would their children feel about them, right? And so sometimes that's hard to do. It might be easier because children are like sponges, and they kind of are, the children are extremely resilient, in my opinion, being a mother, but it's harder to do when you have elder children, you have teenage children, because they're highly opinionated. So sometimes women aren't comfortable living in their truth because the opinions of their children, of themselves, matter to them, and it's very unfortunate for people to not to be able to live in their truth.
I'm so happy that now we live in a country with a culture to where women really can be themselves, because, being a parent now, I could, I'm thankful that I've always had a supportive family, but, my heart goes out to the many families of people who have to maybe self-medicate, right? Alcoholism, people that's committing suicide and things like that. I think it's very great to live in a time when people can be themselves, but there are certainly, I'm pretty sure, a lot of people that are still struggling with it. I think the biggest thing for me, being, I guess you could say, a late lesbian, right? A late coming out lesbian, because I think I was 24 when I got married, 29 when I got divorced, and have been exclusively living as a lesbian, right, out loud, if that makes sense. Luckily, I have a very supportive family. I have a 17-year-old son who is a great kid, right? But I know that some of his friends, even, it changes for everybody. So sometimes I don't think the nuances just are about, what people may think or what is religious. I think it's more so about how the reflections of ourselves, our true selves, us being mothers. I think sometimes the biggest fear is, will our children accept us? Will they judge us? And that's just all I wanted to share. I hate to be so long-winded.
No, thank you. I thank you for your perspective. I thank everyone. I really do appreciate everyone's unique perspective on this. Even though it's clear the opinion that I have. But I want to thank you all, and TC, especially you, for being here. You came. You said you're going to take on everyone's different opinions against yours. How you feel? How you feel up there?
I feel pretty good. I appreciate everybody's insight, and I appreciate everybody's input. I've been reading the comments, and there are two things that are standing out to me. One of which is of less importance, but I'm still going to address it. My preference is not indicative of my education level, so I want to make that clear. My preference is inclusive of my education level, which is why I can come up here and I can say what I say, and I can articulate it in a way that everybody understands it. Whether you agree or you disagree, it's just a matter of choice. It's a matter of preference. So I want to leave that there. My ability to be open-minded is what's most important here. My ability to be receptive to what I'm hearing is what's most important here. And I've been open-minded and I've been receptive. And I appreciate all of the thoughts and opinions that have been shared here today. So that's my first take on that. Secondly, what's really jarring for me is the desire to be, what's the word I'm looking for? The desire to be wanted. And this is something that, again, I have to really, really lean into my privilege, because it seems like, from what I'm seeing in the comments, bisexual women seem to feel really attacked by the preference that lesbians have. And I'm having such a hard time grasping that idea, because I can't understand why, like Utopia said, there is a group for you. There is a segment for you. There are people that look like you, that are for you, by you. So I can't understand what this desire is to be wanted by a group of people that have explicitly expressed that they have a preference. And then I also see that we're confusing preference with judgment. And that's something else that I'm having a hard time understanding, because judging you would be saying, as a lesbian, you made a stupid decision to decide to have 3 children with a man knowing you wanted to be gay. That would be a judgment. I haven't said any of that, because that would be disrespectful, and I'm not judgmental. Me saying that I prefer to date a woman that has not had any children with a man is my preference. Sadly, I mentioned the word 3. I mentioned the number 3 because in the previous conversation that this came from, the particular woman I was talking to had 3 children. So I see that now 3 has become kind of like the standard. So I'm just going to run with it. But they're different facets, and they're different numbers, and they're different situations, to where the amount of children that you have are going to dictate. It's going to dictate the decision, right? And that's what I said, Ashley. I started the number in a previous chat that happened on a conversation that wasn't here, so it stuck. So I wasn't confused about the origin of the number. I apologize if I made it seem like I was confused about where it came from, but I said it. Outside of that, guys, like I said, what's most jarring for me here, and kind of what I'd like to talk about, or just try to understand, is why is there this huge desire on lesbians accepting bisexual women? Why do bisexual women not date bisexual women? Are lesbians, are we the fetish? Are we the prize? Well, I don't understand why bi women don't date bi women in the same capacity. I mean, to me, it would make sense to date bi women, because you guys have the same experiences, right? You guys can swap stories.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong. Again, I respect and appreciate, your perspective. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying I don't date bi women. I think the issue is calling someone by who told you that they are a lesbian, right? I think you're allowed to have preferences. I think you're allowed to say I don't date women with children. I think you're allowed to say I don't date bisexual women. I don't want baby father dynamics. Whatever it is, I think you're allowed to decide that someone's life is not compatible with yours. But compatibility and identity are not the same thing, right? I would not date you. I would not personally date you. It's not the same as saying you cannot be who you say you are because you have kids or because you look like this, or there are masked women who have children, and I feel like no one will say to them, "Well, are you really a lesbian?" Because of the way that they present. So that's just my perspective on that. But again, I appreciate it, and that's where I want to leave part one, because this conversation is going to go into part two, because tonight we asked, do I believe her? Do I trust her? And then do I question her sexuality? But next week we're going to talk about what happens when you actually decide to date her, someone who has multiple kids or a kid. What happens? What role are we expected to play? I'm going to talk about my experience of dating someone who had a child, and the utter heartbreak that was the result of that. So especially if you are masculine presenting, do people automatically start treating you like stepdad? There are just so many. Originally I was gonna combine the two together, but I think we need a whole different conversation for that. So next week I'll definitely share my story on that. And I want to thank everyone for being in here tonight. I really appreciate love. I really appreciate you coming in here and sharing your perspective. And thank you again, TC. Thank you, everyone. So next week, I hope you all will join me again for part two of this discussion about dating women with kids. Thank y'all for being here.
I think this has been great. I will say, I'm going to come to the next conversation because I was on the opposite side. So I was a feminine woman who dated a masculine woman with children and was immediately thought to be a stepmama. So we can have that conversation. Okay. And that ended in a very unique way, but I would love to be there for that conversation too, because as much as I think that people feel like studs come in and they like play stepdaddy to a certain extent, when you're on the opposite side of that, you're also, I feel like, automatically thought, because I'm a feminine woman and because I may have a mothering or nurturing spirit, that I'm automatically supposed to come in and be mama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, after the experience I had, I understand why some people don't want to date other, women who have children, because it's not for the weak. It is not. It's not for the weak. I can tell you my experience. Would I do it again? Yeah, absolutely, I would.
Hell no, I would. I'm sorry.
I understand.
It came out too fast. I couldn't stop it.
I get it.
But yeah, something.
Sure, absolutely.
What it sounds like everything boils down to is that women, period, across the board, whatever you identify as or whatever your preference is, be damn well forthcoming and honest as hell right there in the beginning. Forget being fearful about, oh, that's too forward, that's too soon, you're gonna tell me about your kids right now, that's our first date. Yeah, tell them right then. First meeting, hi, my name is Utopia. Hi, what's yours? How you doing? And a little conversations after, hang, chill, and be forthcoming. That way, you're giving that person a choice to choose to stay and want to know more and get to know more, or move on. Most of the time of I'm seeing a lot of it. It's the discord between the two, or different women and different experiences, that they're not forthcoming, they're not transparent, and they're not honest. They're like keeping that like a secret, like something. They want this person, but you can't force someone to want you when you have something that they don't want. And that's what a lot of women are doing to each other. No matter what you're saying, bisexual, pansexual, trans, no matter what you're saying, you're just not being forthcoming and giving them a choice to say, you know what? Even though you tell me you're trans or bi, you know what? I like you. I want to stay. I want to get to know you a little more. Let that person choose to be there and want to be in your space, not keeping secrets or keeping certain things that they might not want to be around or be with.
We want to give everyone a choice, for sure. So again, thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate your perspectives. Follow me, follow Unbuttoned, and I hope y'all will come back next week for another conversation on Monday at 9 o'clock. Thank y'all.
For sure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you all.
Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you.